But for a lot of guys who just have worked trades for the last 30, 40 years, they're going to be retiring. You think that's going to create a labor shortage, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, the my generation is retiring out. If you want a good qualified carpenter these days, most of them are 35 to 65 years old. The guys that really know the stuff, like I said, the '08, they just never came into the trades. They went into coding or they went into whatever else they could get as work at that time coming in, after the crash. And we've got a real problem.
Welcome to the Blue Collar Blueprint Podcast, episode 10. Today's guest is Duane. Now, Duane has been in the trades in the blue collar industry since the 70s. He really started building things when he was 12 years old down in Florida. So he has really kind of seen it all. He has been through every single wave that the trade industry has had to offer. He has seen and experienced both sides of the blue collar industry, both the business side and as an employee. So he has a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge in the trades, and I'm very confident you'll be able to learn from his experience and his knowledge because he's been in it for a long time. He's seen some stuff, he's learned some stuff. So let's hop in, let's welcome Duane to the podcast, and hopefully you enjoy.
Thanks, Austin. I'm looking forward to it. You've got a great topic, and it's one I love to discuss. So I had to jump onto this.
Yeah. So, Duane, I want you to just hop right in. Let's start from the very beginning. I know you're very involved with the blue collar world now, what you do, but how did you get started in the blue collar world? Let's start from the very beginning. Where are you from?
Well, the very beginning takes me back till I was 12 years old, working alongside my grandfather down in Florida. We were building a rec center for a park, and that was my first experience doing anything in the trades. Literally pouring concrete, doing drywall, paint. I had never done that before, and so I worked side by side with him for years. Eventually, went to college, University of Florida, and I got a degree in construction. I was going mechanical engineering, and I saw myself sitting behind a design table, like drawing gears. I'm like, that, no, that isn't it. That's not what I want to, it's not how I want to build stuff. And turned out they had a school of building construction as part of their architectural division there. And I switched majors, and I have literally been in the construction industry my entire career from there. I'm one of those few people who actually is using their college degree throughout the rest of their life. So um, beyond that, I've been in commercial work. I've done home remodeling. I've done everything from hanging pictures to a 27,000 square foot home. It's been an exciting career. All of it's been part of the trades. We're not building any of these projects without the trades. Uh, I've sat in the GC chair for most of it. So we're not building anything. We're managing, we're coordinating all of the other stuff that goes into building a property. We need the tradesmen. We need all of these people. And I became more active and aware of the issue that we were about to have in the trades after '08. Almost everybody in construction, I say almost everybody, but everybody I knew lost their jobs in '08. And finding a new job was really challenging. And for those of us who, that's all I've ever done my whole life. So I had to find a way to stay in and get back into construction. But a lot of the people who would have normally come into the trades didn't come in. There was just no work. So if you were graduating high school or coming out of college or doing whatever you might want to do, you didn't go in the trades. And this lasted for almost 10 years, where we had a real gap of anybody coming into the trades. So two things happened to that point. All those folks that would have normally been coming into the trades, who would be like our new business owners, starting their own electrical company, starting a plumbing firm, being the next remodeling contractor, they didn't exist as well. Nobody had come up and was ready to start stepping in and filling these roles. So we now also have a new hole in the industry for all of these small businesses. And that's really why I like the trades right now, because anybody looking for a great career This is like the wild west of business right now. If you want to get in, you want to learn your trade and then move up, the sky is the limit. We need people in the trades. We need people starting their own businesses, and it's just going to end. The beauty is from a personal standpoint and local standpoint right now, there are so many people needed in the trades that the opportunities are endless and the wage rates are going up because we need these people. And this is not something that AI, robots, there's no robots going to lay underneath the sink and fix the leaky valve. It's not happening in my lifetime, probably not happening in your lifetime. We still we still got to get out there and do the work. There's a ton of older homes all over this country that need to be updated. The baby boomers like myself, we're headed off into retirement. Most of us, not me, but we're headed off to Florida.
Yeah.
So we're leaving behind this whole infrastructure of older homes. All of these need to be repaired, updated for the next generations to come. So there's plenty of work out there, and AI is not going to replace this. And there's, like I said, there's no robot that's climbing underneath the sink. So that's kind of how I got to where I am. And right now I work as a business coach. So I'm working with a lot of the guys who came up through the trade. Almost everybody I work with was in the trades. They were a carpenter, they were an electrician. I just got off the phone with a guy. He's a concrete subcontractor down in Georgia. He used to be out there pouring concrete and decided to open up his own firm. Then he reaches the challenge of, well, what does this mean for me to run a business? So I help out the guys in the trades who have now stepped up to, go after the brass ring, become an entrepreneur, run their own business, help them through that process of setting up a business, helping them to grow, to make money, and to achieve that American dream. So that's part of the reason I love the trades at this point. It's really a huge opportunity.
Yeah, so you mentioned to me on LinkedIn, which I really liked, was the fact what you do now being a coach, the stepping stone of getting into the trade. So I get in out of high school, I want to become an electrician. I go work electrician, get my master, get my journeyman ticket. And then, I'm 30. I'm like, I like doing this a lot, but I don't necessarily like putting all this time and stuff in and just for a different company. Why don't I just start my own company? I want to work for myself. I want to be my own boss. So that's
And that's typically what happens is because most of the trades companies, electricians, plumbers, HVAC, roofers, painting, whatever trade you want to pick, most of them are small businesses. So they don't have a lot of internal growth opportunity. You are not moving up to be the vice president of operations in most of these firms. They don't have the ability to scale that big. They personally don't want to be that big. So if you're the the journeyman electrician, you've got your license, you've learned your skills, and you want to make more out of your life, you go, there's no promotional opportunities for me. I have kind of reached the pinnacle of my career. I need to go out on my own. And that's usually how a lot of the small businesses start with the tradesman. Whether you're a carpenter running a remodeling project or whether, same thing will happen with a plumber, you get your journeyman's license and you're going, you know, if here I am 30 some years old, I've reached the peak of my career and I've got 30 more years of working time in my life. What am I going to do about this? And this is when the small businesses start. What we find out quickly when you start a small business, we have plumbing skills, we have electrical skills, we have building skills. We don't know anything about running a business. Nothing. Like, and it's like, well, how hard could this be? Well, how hard was it to learn to become a plumber? There was a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of work involved in it. Same thing in running a business. You need a whole new skill set. The skills that got you to the point of I want to start my own business are not the skills needed to run a business. So it's a great learning curve. It's a great learning opportunity. And that's where I try to help out. I'm just like, you can run a great business. You can make good money. You just have to know how to do that.
mhm. And I think I think something that a lot of Americans just in general need to start doing is try supporting not even, these are all small businesses, but small businesses is essentially it runs this country. I'd rather shop at my mom and pop shop here locally for, you know, groceries rather than going to Walmart. Like, I'd rather just support the small business because, by going there and shopping with them or using that HVAC service that, has a handful of employees, but you're paying these people's lives.
Right.
These people are relying on you, and then you're paying for them for their service, for their time to help you, and it's just like it's just an exchange, and I don't know. I think it's just really great. I just really like the aspect of small business.
Yeah, no, it is. It is truly an exchange. I mean, as a business owner, you do step into feeling some sense of responsibility. Like, you know, I got to help this guy put his kids through college. Like, you get that personal feeling as a small business owner. They're not just employees. You're invested in their lives. You're invested in the community. It becomes very personal. It's not anymore about, hey, we just need to, get that HVAC system up and running. It's like I got to make sure I'm building my business properly so I can keep these people employed. So I can make my money, I can grow, they can grow with me. So if I do decide to become a bigger company, there's promotional opportunities for them that they can build their career here with me.
Absolutely.
So all of those folks, though, and I've been there. I felt complete responsibility to them, their families, their mortgage, their college tuition. It's like I've got to build the right business. They're also relying on me as now the business owner to do a good job running the business. Yes, I'm vested with them. I feel a responsibility to keep them employed and to keep them with a regular paycheck, but they're also, they could go work for somebody else. They're working with me and they're counting on me to do my job.
You're right.
And my job is to run the business. And unfortunately, for a lot of small business owners, like I said, this is not a skill they teach in school. We don't learn how to be entrepreneurs. We don't know how to run payroll. We don't know how to read balance sheets, P&L statements, what all of that means, why it's important, and how does that help my business grow. They don't teach us this stuff. And yet we all have this American dream that I'm going to be a small business owner. I'm going to run my own show. I'm going to do this. This is right, right. And which one is better? And frankly, why do I need one? Can't I just hire a couple of guys and go out and get some plumbing jobs? Like, what do I need all this stuff for?
Yeah, I know. My brother has a brother and wife have a small cleaning company here in North Phoenix, and of course they were new to the entrepreneur world and stuff like that. So they started figuring out payroll tax for the employees and like all this stuff when tax season rolls around. They're like, oh my goodness, just not realize. I mean, they had an idea, just did not realize how much of that stuff is really involved. And it's like, okay, this is something that I guess I could have learned and known beforehand, but hey, I learned now. But so I kind of want to move in. So, in your perspective, what with the younger generation and like you were saying, a lot of guys your age, they're retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. If they just work in the trades, they don't have their own companies or businesses because I know a lot of guys that have their own companies or businesses, they don't really retire because they love the work, they love doing the work, they love the grind. It's just all they really know. But for a lot of guys who just have worked trades for the last 30, 40 years, they're going to be retiring. And you think that's going to create a labor shortage, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, the my generation is retiring out. If you want a good qualified carpenter these days, most of them are 35 to 65 years old. The guys that really know the stuff. Like I said, the '08 really changed the environment for bringing, because if everybody had still come into the trades that normally came into the trades in '08, they would be our journeyman carpenters. They'd be our journeyman electricians right now. And looking to start their own business. They just never came into the trades. You know, they went into coding or they went into whatever else they could get as work at that time coming in, after the crash. And we've got a real problem. And I think the real opportunity and what we need to do is as small businesses in America in general, we didn't do a good job of training people. Most of it was on the job training. The specific trades like plumbing, HVAC, and electrical did a better job. But the other trades, I mean, if you happen to land into concrete, you just learned how to do concrete by doing concrete every day. There was no training program of what does all this mean? How do I do it? How do I become a foreman? We as small business owners now need to really think about the training aspect of bringing people on and how do they how do they grow in the industry.
Right.
So I think part of the way we can do that is we can use the folks that are retiring as those trainers. So maybe they don't want to be banging it out, pouring concrete or slinging drywall or painting or even climbing rafters as a carpenter. They don't want to do that anymore. You're 63 years old. You're like, yeah, the rafters are fun, but that's for the kids. It's just a point where you go, I'm not climbing up there. We'll let the kids do it. But that guy could now stay on the ground and teach people how to get it done while he kept his eye on the rest of the job and help train with a formal training program within the business. And I think as small businesses, this is our next challenge. Like, how do we train the new folks coming in? We can't just keep throwing people in because we need, as quickly as possible, we need them to get skills. It was fine. You hire a kid comes in, he's a laborer for 5 years. He left. I didn't care. There were 5 more kids standing right behind him. It didn't really matter. And we took on that attitude for years. And now most small businesses are sitting around going, well, how do I get these people? I can't find anybody. We've got to train them. We've got to be able to sell ourselves as companies to say, if you want to join me, here's how your career is going to look. I'm going to train you to do the following skills. Eventually, you can grow with the company or you can go out on your own. You can do whatever you want to do because I have a formal training program within my company to help you succeed, to help you move to the next level, to help you make more money and improve your life.
So that brings up a point that I'd like to talk about. There's this HVAC company here, I mean, locally that I know the owner personally, and I was talking to him about this aspect of would you rather have so he's like, I'm growing at a pretty good rate. I think right now he has like 6 or 7 employees. Of course, HVAC in the valley down here in Phoenix, it's like, well, it's hot as heck down here. There's like 4,000 registered LLC HVAC companies. But anyway, so is the competition strong? Sure, but there's the amount of people moving here in the hot weather, like everyone needs AC. Regardless, you're gonna be fine. You market correctly and get customers, you're gonna be good. But anyway, so I want to ask them about employee issues, and he was like, "Yeah, it's hard because right now I pay X amount a month on Indeed to get guys to apply with me, and then maybe they've been doing HVAC for the last 10 years or so, or the last 5 years, however much they come in, they they work, I put a bunch of time and effort with them and then but like a month, 2 months down the road, they just don't cut it. They get too complacent, too relaxed. They go back to their old ways. As a home service company, you have your own systems, right? You want your employees to follow your own systems. Well, then you get, these old guys that come in, I've been doing HVAC for like this for 25 years. What do you mean I'm not doing it right? It's like, I understand you know how to do HVAC, but this is how my company does it. And, this is how I want to get done. So he brought up the point of I was asking him, I was like, so what do you think about, these kids, younger men and women who go to like an HVAC school? Would you rather have that or would you rather have an 18-year-old come knock on your door and be like, hey, Tim, I'd like to become an HVAC tech. How can I get started? He'd rather have an 18-year-old come knock on his door, ask for a job, and he said, yeah, start sweeping the garage floor. And you can start learning there. And I'm going to teach you how my company runs. I'm going to teach you how to do HVAC properly. I have a bunch of skilled employees here. but he would rather do it that way versus them going to spend the 2 years to go to a HVAC school, and they kind of teach you how HVAC works. Which, what is your I guess what's your opinion? I always have kind of a 50-50 on like trade schools in general, just from that aspect. But because I grew up, blue collar, my dad's a pipe fitter, my mom's a nurse. I grew up in the woods, out in the country with, I was always fiddling around. I didn't have a TV or nothing. So I was always fiddling around all day.
It's broken. I can figure out how to fix it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I didn't really think that trade school is necessarily like a thing, but it probably is for a lot of folks just because they don't grow up in a blue collar family or with the ability to weld at home or work on vehicles in their own garage or things like that. They're like, I don't really know about this. What is I guess, your whole sentence on like on a trade school?
I am I'm a proponent of trade schools. I think they're good for getting some of the basics down. I think it's a fast track way to get the core learning done. Um, if you're the kid sweeping the floor, well, you could be sweeping the floor for 6 months, still know nothing about HVAC, have no idea, so yeah, you're exposed to it, but you're not getting there. Then the other guy, I mean, you mentioned like Tim's got, he's got his own training program, he's got his own process to bring people through and to teach them how to do the trade. Great. He is an anomaly. Most small businesses don't have a training program. They don't know how to bring these kids up. They don't know how to train them properly. Yeah, maybe they'll learn about the way the business runs. Here's how you treat the customers. Here's what you do when you walk in the door. But the technical aspects of it, it's kind of like you hang out with the old guy for long enough and you kind of learn. Well, hopefully the old guy you're hanging out with does it the way that you want the new kid to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully. So if not, the kid is going to learn whatever the 25-year-old veteran or 25-year veteran, he's got his ways, and that's what he's going to teach the kid. And unfortunately, this has been one of the ongoing challenges in the industry. We have never been good at training. And so when you hire somebody from another firm, half of your work is untraining them because, they grew up with a certain crowd. They grew up learning from certain people. Nobody really had a training mindset. It was, we got to get work done. Let me show you how to do it. Now you're doing it wrong. Do it this way. Okay, good. Do that for 5 years. You'll be good at it. 5 years? Like, in carpentry, I'm still nailing up Tico hangers. Like, what's wrong with this program? I'm not getting anywhere very fast. Where the trade schools can help you at least get, you may not jump out of a trade school, say with carpentry. You're not going to be laying out a house, being a lead carpenter on a job, running a crew of 10. That's not going to happen. But when somebody says we need to do a wall layout or we got to build headers for the window, you're going to know what that means. You're going to have oh yeah, we got to build headers. I've never built a header before, but I learned about it in school. I kind of know what a header is, kind of know how they go together. I've got the basics anyway, where I can understand the language, the environment, the expectations. It's not like walking onto a job site and not understanding a word anybody is saying. So I do think they have a strong benefit to just learn the core basics of, of how these things work.
That's a very good point. I haven't really thought it from it in that perspective, but um I just known from a lot of buddies or whatever that have gone to a trade school. Oh yeah, I want to be an instrument tech. And then they go spend the 2 years of schooling and become an instrument tech, and then they get out of school and they're like, I don't want to be an instrument tech. I'm like, well, you spent 2 years and how much money to go to school to be an instrument tech, and you don't want to be an instrument tech? Like, I get it. Like, dude, don't be an instrument tech but because you're an instrument tech, you're like, oh well, fuss. I guess I just got to go do it. And it's like, well, no, if you're gonna hate your life, I don't do it. Like, there's no point. You're gonna hate your life.
But the flip side is, at least it was 2 years of their lives and they figured out what they don't want to do. They could have spent 2 years sweeping floors and still have no idea and still be making laborers' wages.
Yeah, I think also that proponent, if you're going into it and he offers you a job sweeping the garage floor, I think it's kind of also on you to be like, hey Tim, Like, I want to learn about this stuff and kind of like take, some initiative to be like, because then I feel like that would also, I don't know, you would probably know better from an owner standpoint, would be like, oh, this kid actually wants to learn. Like he actually wants to get his foot in the door and learn about this thing. Yeah, let's let him go out with a tech. Let's let him get some experience. Yeah, we don't need him in the garage today. Let him go out on the job for the day. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of, but yeah, I see what you're saying. It's kind of on both ends. So how do we get these 17, 18-year-olds interested in the trades? How do we get started with that? Because I think that's probably one of the biggest issues, and that's why with Blueprint, because I see it because it's my generation and younger. Everything is there's so much they call it e-learning. A lot of stuff's online. Like you go to a high school and they all learn off a laptop now. Like it's all, of course they're still in class, the teacher classing, but all their homework's done online. It's all done on a laptop. And it's like, well, these kids don't know nothing. And in the percentages of high schools that teach or even, showcase any sort of trade opportunities in the blue collar industry, is like 1%. Like there's just high schools don't teach it at all. So what do we need to do? What do we need to do as a country, to further educate the younger generation because they're ultimately the ones that need to come in, before all these veterans retire so the veterans can teach the young guys exactly. What do we need to do from your perspective?
I think part of it, there's a stigma to the trades in general. And it's, I don't even know how much of it is culturally, but when we think of construction and we think of, anything really to do with the trades, what we're used to seeing is whatever we saw outside of the car window. You know, we looked out the window at a construction site, probably our only exposure to construction ever, and we saw a lot of dirt. We saw steel and concrete and a bunch of people out there sweating, and it's like, I don't want to do that. That looks terrible. Well, it does look terrible. And as an industry, we don't do anything to promote the other side of it. Every business, every industry has a terrible side of it that, it's like that starting point, you got to grow out of it. There's, you start a grocery store, somebody's bagging groceries, somebody's stocking shelves. Eventually, they're a store manager. But nobody even really pays attention to the person stocking the shelves. We just see the grocery store. Unfortunately, on a construction site, what we see is like the really ugly, dirty part and go, I don't want to do that. But it's a, right, right. And you never go in the building. You don't get to go into the mechanical rooms and see how all of that's put together. And some of that stuff is really cool. Like you get into those mechanical rooms. I mean, I love a good mechanical room. So I'm a bit odd that way. But we don't do anything to promote the interesting side of the business and what goes into it. A lot of it is very technical. The alarm systems in these buildings, these high-rise buildings, these alarm systems, they control the HVAC systems, they control the elevators, they control exhaust fans, all kinds of elements for emergency egress. All of this has to be interwired, cross-wired, programmed specifically for each building. And there will literally be a programmer down in a room doing all of this on the job site for that building. Nobody ever sees that guy. Nobody even thinks he exists. All they know is, yeah, I was in the building and the smoke alarm went off and I had to take the stairs down. Well, why'd you have to take the stairs down? I don't know. The elevators didn't work. That's because that guy programmed the elevators to shut off. That's why they don't work. They didn't just accidentally didn't work. Somebody told them, no elevators. There's a whole technical side to this that nobody ever sees. And there's also the business side of this that no one ever sees. I mean, you think about any major project, whether it's a custom built home or whether it's a high rise. These are millions of dollars that are flowing through a business. Sitting behind that are all the things that every business has. There's project managers, there's marketing people, there's design teams, there's estimators, there's accountants, everything that a business has, construction has. You can be in construction and never put on a pair of boots. You don't necessarily have to be in the trades. I was in commercial work for years. Going to the job site was like one of my side bonuses. I sat behind a computer all day. Most of my career has been spent behind a computer, scheduling subcontractors, writing contracts, negotiating with owners, negotiating with subs. It's because I came up through the trades. I know the trade work. I know what's involved in it. I can speak the language, but I've enjoyed the business side of it more than I wanted to pour concrete. And I never wanted to pour concrete for the rest of my life. I say a blessing every time I see a concrete subcontractor because terrible trade, a lot of hard work.
That that's my older brother. He went through the union construction apprenticeship up in Washington, where we're from, and he's been doing concrete for. I don't know if he enjoys doing it, but he's really good at doing it. And yeah, he's been talking about wanting to. He lives in Montana now, and he was like, the amount of building and stuff going on in the Flathead Valley and Kalispell Whitefish area. It's like there's like no people that do concrete out there. He's like, I'm good. I don't mind doing it. Maybe I just start my own concrete business and do it. I'm like, go for it. Do it. You're good at it. You don't mind, do it. Let's get it started. But yeah, I mean, it's just another small business opportunity for somebody, even though
Right. And they're everywhere and they're all out there. And for anybody who's wants to start a new business and learns how to set it up and how to run a business, you can basically run circles around your competition because your competition doesn't know anything about how to set up and run a business. So you're doing all the things they're not doing. You've got a marketing plan. You're meeting and greeting the right people. You're signing up work left and right because they're out on the job site pouring concrete. Well, you're out there signing up work. So that's where I say the skill set that got you there is not the skill set you need to run on your own business. That's not the skill set that gets you to the next level. But that's also the skill set, no one would call the guy that's running an electrical shop or a concrete subcontractor or a drywall business. They'd still say, you're in construction.
yeah, absolutely.
But they may never go on a job site anymore. Because now the installation of concrete is now what you sell, it's not what you do. Now you may know everything about it because you did it for years. That's what gave you the leg up to get there. And to be able to start your own business, you can talk the talk, you can walk the walk, you can lay out a form, you can do all the stuff that needs to be done out there. But now you hire people to do it. You know when they're doing it correctly, you know when they're doing it wrong because you've been there, you've done that. But now your job is to go out and sell, market, keep track of the books, make sure everybody gets paid on Friday. Try to grow big enough that you can offer them a retirement package, a 401k. Maybe you got to buy some company trucks. Do I finance those? Do I buy them outright? What's my best deal? Now you're a business owner. Now you're hiring accountants. Now you're hiring estimators. Now you're hiring salespeople. All because you learned how to do concrete when you were 20. And that's the other piece. You asked the question, what can we do? This is the American dream. Like the American dream is to go out, start your own business, run your own show, and grow and make some money. Well, how do you do that? You're not going to do that coding sitting in a cubicle someplace. Nice job out of high school. Yeah, they give me free donuts. I got coffee. I can sit and code all day. It's not really hard work. I'm good at it. Are you ever going to start your own business? Or are you going to be 60 years old learning a new coding language for whatever new programs just came out? Where is your opportunity down the road? If you start out in the trades and you learn a skill, one, it's a skill that most likely you can use in some aspect of your life forever. Like, I mean, you grew up, you know how to weld, you know how to fix, you know how to do some light electrical, you can fix some plumbing. Something breaks in your house. Hold on. Let me run out to the garage. Let me grab some tools. I'll be right back in. I'll fix that.
The awesome thing about it is everybody I literally know, probably 98% of the people I know work in literally every single trade sector. I know roofers, I know plumbers, I know electricians, I know framers, I know concrete people. I know people in every single trade aspect. If I had an issue, I make a phone call. Hey, I'm not really sure what this is or how to do this. Can you help me with it? Like, absolutely, I'll be there. Or, oh yeah, I'll talk you through it. Like, I'm not calling. I'm not calling. I mean, sure, I will. You know, HVAC, whatever goes out, I'll call company, come and fix it out. But for the most part, if it's something I do myself or my buddy and I can do, you know, I'm gonna call them up and we're gonna get her done. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a life skill. Exactly. Like,
Yeah, so you've got a life skill that you can carry on forever. I mean, I don't care how bad the economy gets. I can always find work because I've got skills. You know, I can always pick up a hammer. I don't want to anymore. Those days are beyond me. But you know, especially still around the house. I've always got a hammer nearby. I got a wrenches. I'm still doing it. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's so much fun to build something and step back and go, yeah, it's looking pretty good.
yeah, exactly. I know that's probably one of my favorite aspects of working in the trade, being a lineman, and then is that satisfaction you get after, you know, whether people's power was just out, you know, like I've worked hurricanes, winter storms on the East Coast, things like that. I worked through Christmas, which was something that's a weird thing to say and have is to want to work through Christmas. But being like kind of, you know, young and single at the point, I was like, it's kind of on my bucket list. I want to work through Christmas on a winter storm. Like I think that'd just be kind of fun. So I got the opportunity last year. I we were yeah, we were over there in where were we at? Massachusetts somewhere maybe. But yeah, it was cool. I mean, of course it was
Could be my neck of the woods. Yeah, I'm up in the Catskills in New York right now. So yeah, you could have been up here.
yeah, I've been all over up there, you know, Buffalo a handful of times. I always fly into Hartford and then we go from Hartford to wherever we need to go. But yeah, there's just something that satisfaction you get and it's in any trade. You're building something, you're getting something done. When you put that cutout back in, you see the neighborhood flash up with lights. You're just like, I did that. I did that. And it's the greatest feeling ever. You're just like, you throw that cutout in, and then you just like see the lights come on. You step back and just like think for a second, like, we just did that. Like these people had just been out of power for 46 hours, probably shivering, and we just got their power back on. Or you do HVAC. It's 115 degrees down here, right? Not right now, but it's 115 degrees in August, and my AC went out. And I call this HVAC company. They come out. Oh yeah, you know your compressor is bad in your unit. We will replace it. So they'll replace it, and the AC works again. You're like, thank you. I have AC now, and I don't have to suffer in my own house. Like just all those things. It's that satisfaction is so huge that people just do not realize. And if you like getting satisfaction from things, I don't know like what much better you can get satisfaction from.
No, I agree. I mean, I've been on commercial projects back, like I said, when I got out of college, I was doing commercial work down in DC. To this day, I will drive by those buildings just to kind of check them out. Like, what are all the old buildings doing? You know, and I know it's still standing there, and I'll drive by. You know, and it's in the back of my head, yeah, I built that. You know, I didn't take out a hammer. I didn't do anything. I was on the management side of it, but I had my hand in there. You know, and it to this day, I mean, those buildings they're getting old, to be honest with you. But they're still there, and I had a piece of it, and it's still satisfying.
So I that kind of brings up another point. A lot of those buildings, like the East Coast, me growing up on the West Coast, of course, I'm from Washington originally, but I never had gone for many up until about a couple years ago. I've never gone farther east than like Michigan. And then I went out in the fall of 21. I went out to the East Coast for a storm. We flew into Boston, and then we were just kind of all over the East Coast. And I was like, wow, the history here, the just how old it is over here, like it's just different. Um, so I mean, obviously it's so old over there. What do you see as far as, you know, do I don't know, like those high risers, like those things have to just they get remodeled or they just constantly just being evolved and rebuilt as time goes on, or like how do those do they just
It's a little bit of both depending on its location for the most part. So if you've got, if you've got a mid-level high rise, it's, 12, 15 stories, but it's in like prime real estate in the middle of town that deserves a nice 30-story skyscraper thing, you just take it down. Like just get it out of the way. You go up, you double the height because it's never going to have the structure to support, doubling its height, and they'll come down. But there's a lot of infrastructure, older buildings, older homes, that they will just get gutted and remodeled. The structure is still there. Um, the challenges in some of the older buildings are how they were made, from the standpoint of asbestos and other elements that were commonly used in the construction trades back in the day that we can't use anymore. So at times it becomes just cost ineffective to try to get all of that stuff out of a building to save it. They can be really cool buildings, but you can spend millions trying to abate everything. And you're like, for that kind of money, we could have knocked it down and hauled it away. Like it's so there's a little bit that plays into the older structures, but the older structures they got a lot of character, they got a lot of fun, and they can be repurposed in a lot of cases. And I mean, even as the work from home scenario kind of builds up
Yeah.
coming out of COVID, a lot of the office space in these big cities is vacant. It's not coming back. Like you can work in upstate New Hampshire, do the same job. You're like, why wouldn't I just live next to this nice stream and work from home instead of schlepping my way into Manhattan every day? Like this is a whole lot nicer. I'm not going back to Manhattan. So I think a lot of those big office buildings are going to have to get repurposed into residential or some other use, other than what they were originally built for. Again, society is changing. It's going to need tradespeople to go in and revamp all these buildings. These are 25,000 square foot office space floors that are now going to need kitchens and TVs and bathrooms and all the other stuff. None of that stuff was designed to, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's not there now. Um, all that's there is a big open concrete floor and a core elevators. So, again, that's the trades. That's the guys that are going to go in there and make that happen. Turn a big open office space into, loft apartments or whatever they want to do with it.
That's a great point. See, there's a lot of things like that I don't even necessarily think about, but I mean, yeah, a lot of people are working from home now, and what are they gonna do with all this office space? Well, they're not just gonna let it just sit idle forever because that's money. That's money.
No, it's expensive. Yeah, the city still wants their taxes, whether you keep it empty or full.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, so I like to finish these podcasts off with basically one just kind of general question. With your experience and just life in general, and then especially in the trades, let's give a 17, 18-year-old who doesn't want to go to college, but they're graduating high school this year. Their mom's a stay-at-home mom. Their dad, he works in an office, but I don't want to work in an office. I don't want to go to college and spend the 4 years to get some BS degree. I am like the trades kind of interest me, but I'm just not sure where to go. What do I do?
If you're in a small town, and if you don't have a trade school nearby, or even if you don't have funds for the trade school, I would head down to whatever interests you, whether that's the local mechanic, if you want to work on cars, or if you think big engines would be a lot more fun, you can work on big diesel engines, big trucks, excavating equipment, all of that stuff needs work as well. You can learn how to be a mechanic in any of those trades. You can go to almost any contractor, GC, and tell them you're looking for work. They'll put you to work. We're all looking for people. And we're really looking for people who have interest, who are going to show up every day, have a bit of enthusiasm for what we're doing. And if you show up with the right attitude, we're going to put our arm around your shoulder and go, come on, let's do this. We're really looking for good people of interest, and people who have enthusiasm and are willing to learn. Like I said in the beginning, the opportunity is there right now. We need good people in the trades. We're willing to train them. We're willing to teach them. I knew a guy in Massachusetts would literally do do sign-on bonuses. Like if you'll come to work for my HVAC company, I will give you 10 grand. Sign-on bonus.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me because it's just like, since when?
But all the kids either went into another trade or it was mid-state mass. The kids left. They're like, this is I don't want to. I want to go someplace exciting, and they all left. And yet there's very expensive homes in that area, and they have air conditioning, and they need it fixed. And this guy couldn't find people to fix them. It wasn't that he didn't have work; he needed people who were willing to go to work, and he would give them a sign-on bonus. He would send them to trade school if that's what was needed. He would do whatever it took to try to get good people in his firm. The opportunities are out there. And it's going to continue this way because very few people have any background or skills in the trades. So if you know something about it, you've got skills for life. You've got a job for life. AI is not going to replace you. No robot's going to replace your job. Technology is going to come in. It's going to make our jobs easier. But you got a job for life. You got a career for life. You can achieve the American dream. You can start your own business. Do whatever you want to do. Sky's the limit in the trades.
Yeah. Also, to piggyback off that, you could, if one of these young people could have three, like what would you think three key characteristics, or I guess like, yeah, characteristics I guess they could have that would highly benefit them if they're going to get into the trades.
Show up every day. Show up every day. I mean, I talk to trades, I talk to GCs, I talk to business owners. People just don't show up. They get hired 3 days later. Like the guy's like, "Are you coming to work?" I lost my cell phone. Maybe I can come in tomorrow. Like, maybe you can come in tomorrow. Like, show up. If you want a job, show up. The other part is be willing to learn. Don't think you know it all. Just open up your mind and be a human sponge. These guys are more than willing to teach you anything and everything they absolutely know. All you have to do is be willing to learn. You ask them one simple question, they get to be the expert. They've been doing it for 25 years, and all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, let me tell you about it." And they will tell you everything you ever want and more. And then the story will go on for 20 minutes longer than you needed, but you're gonna learn a lot. So be a human sponge. Show up, be willing to learn, and you can just keep going.
I think attitude's a good one too. I think attitude is I would throw attitude in there in the top three just because attitude, especially when you work on a crew culture. So I'm used to working on a crew culture, as a lineman. So I got three other guys on the crew with me, and you have that one guy that has just a piss poor attitude. It affects the whole crew. You're like, I want to go to work. So for me personally, I try to show up in the morning every single morning, no matter what I have going on in life. I've always been told from the very beginning, you leave your feelings at the gate. Whatever you have going on, when you pass through that gate to come to the yard, you leave your feelings at that gate. Because we don't care. I mean, do we care what you got going on in life? Sure. Is your wife battling with this, your mom and dad's, things like that? Do we really care? I don't know. But
But no.
listen, we're doing some dangerous crap out here. We don't need your feelings and all this stuff to be, infecting the whole crew culture. We need to just have good positive attitude, I think is like a major thing. So I try to show up because I know a positive attitude can spread, if someone is having a bad day on your crew or whatever, is if you're being positive and having a good attitude, maybe it's going to rub off on them and it's going to make their day better. But I think attitude for me is massive.
Yeah, that attitude and that crew environment, I mean, that's your office space. I mean, this is and you've been out there, you know how it is. You're with the crew, you're with these guys, and all we do is talk about stupid stuff all day long. I don't know how we find things to talk about all day long about nothing. And yet you're with the same guys every day. You'd think we would just run out of things to talk about. And you just chat, you get to know them, and it becomes your environment. And you're right. If it's a negative environment, you're like, I don't want to hang out with these people all day. Like this sucks, to be honest with you.
Especially for a new person coming in. Let's say you're an 18-year-old and let's say you have a positive attitude and you're like, yeah, I do want to frame houses. Like this is cool. Like building a house, building a structure. Like we're doing this. But then like you're just working with all these guys at work who are just like negative all day. You're like, I don't know, do I want to do this? Like this kind of sucks. But it's like, okay, well, that might the blue collar world's kind of hard to dictate because it's almost 50-50 when it comes down to it. But I think it comes down to just like their personalities. I don't know. There's the whole entire thing. Personality is a big one, hard to deal with anywhere you go. Of course, everyone has different personalities, but I think just at least showing up and having a positive attitude.
Yeah, no, and it makes the day go faster. It's a lot more fun when everybody's got a lot of enthusiasm. You got a great attitude, and you're like, let's just knock this thing out. And everybody's pulling together. It's fun. I mean, it's fun to work on a team like that.
Yeah, and I think as from a superior standpoint, you would see that and be like, man, these guys are kicking ass. Like look at him, and it's like, well, maybe if you realize that crew culture, like they're very positive, they're energetic, they BS all day, but they have fun at work. That's why they get these things done so fast and effectively because that's how their culture is. So I feel like that's something that like I don't know, as a business owner or something, you'd be like, yeah, let's have a good positive. Obviously, I think would be kind of a key point to show.
Hard to cultivate. It's hard to cultivate.
Hard to teach an old dog new tricks. Jim from for the last 40 years has been doing HVAC and he hates his life and he's on his third marriage and stuff like that and he goes home every night. It's kind of hard to cultivate that, but that's basically 50% of blue collar work right now. Don't get me wrong, but
But you're right. A lot of it you got to leave at home. And they say, well, you never know what the other guy is going through. No, I don't. And do I care? Kind of, but no. We got work to do. You're here to work. You're here to get paid to do this. You know,
I'm not your counselor. I'm not your therapist.
right. I'm not your counselor. Yeah, I know you're having a bad day, but I can only care so much. Um, if you want a therapist, go talk to a therapist when you leave. In the meantime, we got some wire to pull. We got to build a house. We got to pour some concrete. That's what we're doing here.
That to me is my therapy session. I got some crap going on at home or whatever the deal is. It's like I go to work. Actually, I love leaving those feelings at the gate because then it's like, all right, I'm in my element. I can focus on work and all that other stuff going on is like, that's the side. I can worry about that later. It's kind of my therapy session. I think a lot of blue collar people too probably it's their therapy session as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you bring up a good point there. Yeah, I think it really does. Like you're out there, you're building, you're focused. The rest of the world goes away for a while. This is just what I do, and I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to do it well. And the broken car and the sick dog, and it's like I'll take care of that later. I'm in a good spot right now. I'm building something.
All right, Duane. Well, yeah, we're coming up on 53 minutes here, so really appreciate you coming on the broadcast and talking about your experience and giving some techniques and to people who just the fact that getting into a trade and using that as a stepping stone to start your own small business. You want to be your own boss. You're giving some handful of key pointers there. So really appreciate you coming on and just kind of explaining just the trade as a whole, the labor shortage and everything's like that, and just give some explanation on how people can get started and figure out what they want to do because like you didn't say it better. I mean, we from your standpoint, you would know better than me just because you work with these small businesses. You've been in the industry for so long and you've seen it from, I don't know, in the 80s, 90s, 80s, 70s, 80s,
70s.
70s to the 2020s. Like you've seen it all from a wide range and you'd best know, where we're at right now. And you're saying it. So I believe it. Like, yeah, we need people in the trades. And, obviously I see it on LinkedIn and it's a common theme that I didn't realize, but now I see. So appreciate you coming on and just explaining. And
Thanks for having me. As you can see, I could talk about this for days. I love the industry. I love the trades. It's been a good career for me my entire life. And I'm not out on a job site every day anymore, but if there's something broken in the house, I got a garage full of tools. I'll be right back.
That's right. And if one of your cousins or somebody calls you and says, "Hey, Duane, my doggone faucet's leaking," or whatever the case, you're like, "I'll be over there when I have a minute, and I'll come fix it."
Yep. I got tools. I'll be right over.
Really appreciate you coming on the broadcast and talking about your experience and giving some techniques.
Thank you, Austin. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully you enjoyed that podcast with Duane. As you can tell, he's a very passionate individual when it comes to the skilled trades. It's all he's really known. He kind of just lives and breathes it for the last however many years, since he was 12 years old. That's all he really knew. Hopefully you could have learned a thing or two. I'm confident that you could have, because as I said, Duane is a very knowledgeable and experienced individual in the trades. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to check out the channel. There's plenty of other videos you can learn your knots, learn how to do some math, and just figure out, the blue collar industry. Because the Blueprint, we're here to help you build your future.